A premier luxury fashion boutique is supposed to represent style, elegance, and impeccably high standards of customer service, a space where every client is welcomed with sophistication and attentiveness regardless of what they happen to be wearing when they walk through the door. But for one floor director at a flagship store, customer service was never extended based on courtesy. It was a privilege reserved strictly for people who wore expensive labels on the outside. A young woman wearing dark green denim work overalls over a plain black t-shirt, carrying a simple cotton canvas tote, walked into the city's premier designer boutique. She had spent her morning working in her private botanical glasshouse and stepped inside to purchase a silk evening gown for an upcoming charity gala. The boutique manager glanced at her casual clothes and the faint soil marks on her canvas strap, offered a sneering, dismissive chuckle, and informed her that the main floor was reserved for high-spending VIP clients. He then pointed toward a budget thrift shop 3 blocks away, suggesting she would feel much more comfortable browsing over there. What he didn't know was that the woman he had just casually insulted had signed the final corporate acquisition contracts less than 3 hours earlier, making her the chief executive and principal owner of the global fashion group, the brand rights, and the flagship property itself. Before we get into the full story, comment down below where you are watching from today, and subscribe to Silent Empire so you never miss an episode. Now, let's get into it. Maison de Soie had stood on the city's most exclusive shopping avenue for nearly 20 years. It was widely regarded as the pinnacle of haute couture, catering to international celebrities, high society figures, and prominent executives. The interior featured custom polished hardwood, minimalist architectural lighting, and rack after rack of handmade silk garments valued at thousands of dollars each. For the past 9 years, the flagship store was managed by a man named Julian Vance. Julian considered himself an arbiter of true class. He frequently boasted to his sales associates that a luxury brand's image wasn't just built by the garments on display, but by the visual quality of the customers standing near them. To Julian, human worth was simple: if a customer arrived wearing designer coats, gold jewelry, and carrying high-end handbags, they were escorted to the champagne lounge. But if someone entered wearing simple, functional clothes, Julian treated them as a threat to the store's visual aesthetic, someone to be ushered out of sight as quickly as possible. What Julian failed to realize was that real, immense wealth in the modern world rarely feels the need to dress up for a sales clerk. And nobody embodied that reality better than Sophia Hayes. Sophia was 33 years old, the daughter of a renowned landscape architect and venture capitalist who had built an international agricultural and real estate conglomerate. Sophia had inherited her family's sharp financial mind along with a deep passion for horticulture. She spent most of her mornings working in her private experimental botanical garden, developing sustainable plant-based textiles. Despite managing a corporate venture fund worth hundreds of millions of dollars, Sophia remained deeply grounded. She preferred wearing durable overalls while working in her gardens, drove an unpretentious electric vehicle, and rarely bothered with loud designer branding. To anyone who didn't know her name, she looked like an ordinary landscape worker. At 2:45 p.m. on a sunlit Thursday afternoon, Sophia walked through the tall glass doors of Maison de Soie. She had an evening gala in 2 days and needed to select a specific emerald silk dress from the new autumn collection. Her dark green overalls were clean but practical, her hair was pulled into a simple clip, and her canvas tote rested on her shoulder. She walked slowly along the main floor, admiring the craftsmanship of the silk embroidery on display. Julian Vance, dressed in a sharp custom tuxedo suit, noticed her immediately from across the showroom. His eyes narrowed in disgust as he watched her step near the high-value evening wear section. He adjusted his cufflinks and marched over with an expression of sharp disdain. "Good afternoon," Julian said, his voice dripping with condescending formality. May I direct you to the exit? The public park is across the street if you are looking for a place to rest. Sophia turned, her expression calm and composed. Good afternoon. I'm actually looking for the emerald silk gown from the autumn collection. I'd like to try it on in size 6. Julian let out a loud, mocking laugh that caused two nearby shoppers to turn and look. Try it on, Julian repeated, shaking his head. Miss, that gown is an exclusive runway sample priced at $12,000. Our fitting rooms are reserved for serious clients with established purchase accounts. I am aware of the price, Sophia replied evenly. And I am asking to see the dress. Julian's smirk vanished, replaced by an angry, patronizing glare. Let's cut to the point, miss. Look at what you are wearing. You walked into a premier luxury fashion house wearing gardening clothes. You are disrupting the environment for our actual high-paying clientele. He gestured cold-heartedly toward the front entrance. There is a second-hand consignment store 3 blocks down the avenue. I am sure you can find something suitable for your budget over there. Now please step out before I have floor security escort you out. Sophia didn't back down. You haven't asked for my name, nor have you checked your client database. You've simply decided based on my overalls that I am incapable of buying a gown. I don't need a database to recognize when someone doesn't belong here, Julian snapped, stepping closer. Now leave immediately. Before Julian could call security, the store's private elevator opened. The global brand president, Charles Montgomery, stepped out onto the showroom floor accompanied by 2 executive directors carrying heavy leather signing folders. Charles was looking frantically around the room until his eyes locked onto Sophia standing quietly near the dress rack in her green overalls. Charles's face lit up with immediate relief, and he rushed forward past the display racks. Miss Hayes! Charles exclaimed loudly, bowing respectfully. My sincere apologies for keeping you waiting. Our board meeting upstairs just concluded. We are completely honored to welcome you to the flagship store. Julian froze in place, his face turning pale. Charles, excuse me, do you know this woman? She was just causing a disturbance on the sales floor. Charles turned to Julian, his eyes wide with furious shock. Julian, be quiet right now. Sir, Julian stammered, his composure completely shattering. I was simply enforcing our floor presentation standards for visitors who do not meet our dress requirements. She is our dress requirement, Julian. Charles shouted, his voice ringing across the silent boutique. Miss Sophia Hayes is the managing director of Hayes Global Holdings. As of noon today, her firm completed the full acquisition of 78% controlling shares of our entire fashion group. She owns this brand, this building, and every store in our global network. The entire boutique fell into absolute, dead silence. Julian stood frozen, his eyes wide with horror. The blood completely drained from his face as he looked from Charles down to the official buyout documents, and then back to Sophia's simple green overalls. She owns the brand. Julian whispered, his voice trembling uncontrollably. Miss Hayes requested an unannounced visit today, Charles said coldly, looking at Julian with intense disappointment. She wanted to see how walk-in guests were treated when they didn't arrive with designer labels. Sophia stepped forward, her voice calm, clear, and devastatingly firm. In less than 3 minutes, Mr. Vance, Sophia said, you insulted my attire, ridiculed my work, and attempted to kick me out of a boutique I now own. You didn't show a shred of hospitality. You simply assumed that because I wore gardening clothes, I was beneath your respect. Julian swallowed hard, his hands shaking. Miss Hayes, please. I had no idea who you were. If I had known, I would have closed the entire store for your private shopping session. And that, Sophia said quietly, is exactly why you will no longer work here. Respect shouldn't depend on a price tag. It should be given to everyone. By the end of the day, Julian Vance was officially relieved of his duties as store director, with an immediate ban from any property owned by the parent brand. Sophia ordered a complete review of all customer service policies across the company, ensuring that every store under her control became a place of genuine warmth and respect for all people, regardless of how they were dressed. Never judge a person's stature by the clothes on their back or the dirt on their boots. You never know if the person in the simple overalls is the one who owns the entire empire. If you enjoyed this story, hit the like button and subscribe to Silent Empire for more stories of quiet strength, sudden turns, and ultimate accountability. See you in the next one.